So I've talked about how fat people do not have access to public spaces and to certain things in life because the world is not built for fat people, right? So I've talked about that on this page before. And yesterday while I was taking a nice big large dump, something else crossed my mind as I was looking at my bathtub. I've never taken a bath in my bathtub because guess what? It wasn't made for me. I don't fit. And I think that's sad. Because, I grew up in Sea Cadets. I love the water. I literally did swimming lessons until I was 14, maybe. I almost got my lifeguarding, whatever the fuck it's called. Point is, I really enjoy water and swimming and sailing and all of that stuff. But I'll never be able to have a bath in my bathtub. And I bet you that's something that, average people don't think about every single day because it's just a right that they automatically have. So once you start unlearning your fat phobia, you start to see it everywhere, and this is a great example of that.
This is actually a terrible example. Just awful. First of all, your private bath is in your house, not a public space. Second, what does taking a bath have to do with your love of water and swimming? You can still have access to public pools as a fat person. In fact, it's one of the most accessible forms of exercise and fun for fat people. And if you have such a problem with not being able to fit in your bath, get a bigger bathtub.
Let's talk about how before and after pictures can be harmful. Before and after pictures typically show someone before they lost weight, usually fat, and after they've lost weight, usually thin. In a society that idealizes thinness and typically equates being thin to being healthy and being fat to being unhealthy, this can have negative body image effects for people who look more like the before picture. You also don't really know how people achieved weight loss, but often it's through severe dieting and deprivation and the result of disordered eating. A lot of people who have suffered from eating disorders and body image issues might also find these images really triggering to various disorders such as body dysmorphia, depression, anxiety, etc. It kind of just also reinforces fat phobia and the idea that weighing more is automatically bad and weighing less is automatically good. I know. A lot of you are probably thinking, well, I'm proud of my weight loss, so why should I care how other people feel about it? To that I answer, because you're a human being and empathy exists.
Yes, empathy does exist. And if you expect people to be sympathetic towards you, you also have to reciprocate that. If someone is proud of their achievement of losing weight and your response is, well, this hurts me, then you are being selfish and unsympathetic. Being fat is unhealthy and losing weight is a big achievement. Stop being self-centered and congratulate people on their hard work, or at the very least, shut up about it. The cognitive dissonance of saying, be empathetic, but also saying, what someone else does with their body hurts me, is mind-blowing.
So in the past hour driving from New York to Boston, I have seen 10 weight loss billboards for weight loss surgery, and I just think it goes to show how insidious and unending the diet and weight loss industries are.
First of all, I would like to know how many ads for fast food or junk food they also saw on this drive and conveniently ignored. And second, I have such a huge problem with this caption. It says 6% of people who get weight loss surgery die within 5 years. This ignores the fact that someone who is big enough and desperate enough to get weight loss surgery probably has a shortened lifespan to begin with because of their size. I would like to know what the statistics are for the lifespan of people who are the average size that get weight loss surgery and compare it to this number, because I guarantee you it's not far off from this 6% figure.
Hi, welcome to Fatphobia Lessons 101. Let's talk about the BMI. I am responding to this comment right here. I look a little bit different because I need more time to research. And I want accurate research. To begin, we first have to acknowledge that the BMI is inherently racist. And fat phobia is linked to the racist history of the BMI. And fat phobia is inherently racist. And here you'll see why. This white man, Adolf Quetelet, made the BMI in the 19th century as a way of determining whether people deserve insurance or not. Let me explain something crucial. This man had no interest in the medical field. He just wanted to control people's insurance. So he created an ideal ratio to determine whether people deserve healthcare or not. And the only people that judged it was white European men. If you don't understand why that's an issue, all races, all bodies are different. It's been proven that black women, when they have a 37 BMI, it's not as harmful when it's a white person's BMI as a 37. But they use these black women's BMIs to discriminate against them with insurance. So when you tell me BMI obesity is bad, you are not considering socioeconomic status. And you're encouraging a racist practice. Go to part 2.
This woman said she took the time out to do the research to get it right, and she was still completely wrong. To start out with the factual information that she was wrong about, the BMI was not made for insurance purposes. The dude who made it had absolutely no interest in insurance or eugenics, which is where the BMI is racist bit comes in. He was a garden variety scientist that made the BMI to find the average size of men. That's it. It wasn't used for insurance purposes until decades after it was created. And that goes against the main argument here that the BMI was created to discriminate against people, particularly people of color. And even if the BMI may be less accurate with certain ethnicities, that doesn't mean that being obese is healthy. It just means that some groups of people might tolerate the effects of being overweight better than others. But it's still not healthy for anyone to be fat.
Welcome to Fatphobia Lessons 101. Today we're talking about the BMI, but this is part 2. For reference, this is the article I'm using. It's from Good Housekeeping. First video is pretty much summary, but I want to expand a little bit more in this video. In part 1, I explained that obesity cannot be determined bad, especially when the BMI does not take into account socioeconomic status. Meaning that each person's socioeconomic status does play a part in their own BMIs, and it's not taken into account in the health industry. The BMI is not primarily used because it's the only thing available. It's used because it's inexpensive and easy, and it easily discriminates against people of color. It does the job for the health industry for them, and they profit off of it. However, there are more physicians catching on the fact that the BMI fucking sucks. If you are worried about going to the doctors and getting weighed, there is something you can do. I did this in my ED recovery, and I know some people didn't take me seriously because I was larger when I was anorexic. Screw those doctors. You're able to go into your doctor's office with a card, or at least tell the nurse practitioner, hey, I am not comfortable being weighed. If I must be weighed, please do not tell me my weight. It says a clear standard of the care you're expecting. Also, when you tell fat people that we're not healthy, just remember diet culture causes the same issues as you think obesity does.
The point that the BMI doesn't take into account socioeconomic status is ridiculous. Why would the BMI take into account someone's socioeconomic status? Yes, the obesity epidemic has ties to wealth, but that doesn't mean that weight and socioeconomic status should be put together in a single metric that doctors use. That's like saying blood pressure and the frequency that someone eats fast food should be put into one metric. Like, yeah, they're probably related, but one is a cultural issue and one is strictly a medical issue, and they need to be dealt with in completely different ways. And while the medical system probably should be more aware of socioeconomic issues, saying the BMI is bad because it doesn't consider poverty is not a valid argument. And the rest of the video, when she talks about getting weighed and all that stuff, I don't really have a problem with it. Overall, this entire video seems like it should be a critique on the US medical system and not on the BMI.
Here is exactly what I wanted to say with that video, and I just didn't explicitly say it because I was worried people would accuse me of body shaming. But surprise, surprise, they accuse me of body shaming anyways. I don't think it's body shaming to point out that thin privilege exists and that people with smaller body types or thin people are catered to in the fashion industry, and fashion trends revolve around those body types. So it's not really shocking when it's considered cool or trendy for people to use their thinner bodies as a fashion accessory, kind of. For example, the recent trend with low-rise jeans is typically considered fashionable when somebody with a flat stomach or abs wears them, but then it's considered gross or unflattering when someone with a bigger stomach wears them. And this isn't an attack. I'm not trying to personally attack thin people or smaller body types. This is just a critique of society as a whole and the fat phobia embedded into it. So I'm really not trying to body shame, so I really apologize if it comes off that way.
I don't know exactly what video she's referring to. I couldn't find it. But to the point that thin women use their abs as accessories, I say, yes, they do. And what's the problem with that? Throughout history, people have used their bodies as accessories or status symbols. The fat acceptance community always likes to reference the fact that being fat used to be considered the beauty standard. And I think that's very relevant to what this woman is saying, because she's talking about how thin people are catered to in the fashion industry because they are the beauty standard. Thin women, particularly very toned women, use their abs as accessories because in today's day and age, having abs is very difficult. It's not just about being thin, it's about putting the effort and time into your body to get toned. For a lot of people, that represents a form of status, of having the extra time in your day to focus on your body. I think there's a valid critique of beauty standards somewhere in what this woman is saying, but it's a lot more complicated than saying toned women showing off their abs is thin privilege.
Part 2. Is it fatphobic to not be okay with people who are fat enough to be on my 1,000 pound life? Overly obese people is what you call it. In the fat liberation community, we would call it super fat or infinite fat. The short answer is yes, it's fatphobic. And I think you already know that because you're thinking about it. And that's great. You should be thinking about it and questioning that in yourself. We are trained to be fatphobic, especially towards people who are super fat. Those shows themselves train us to mock and view fat people as disgusting freaks of nature, and view fatness itself as something that must be corrected and that is a moral failing. You said in your comment that you find me beautiful. While I am flattered, the fact that you find me beautiful, whether in your personal subjective opinion or by a societal standard of me being on the smaller end of fat, that doesn't make me any more deserving of love, respect, or fair treatment than someone who is super fat.
I feel like this woman misconstrued what the commenter was saying. Shows like My 600-Pound Life and others definitely don't show fat people in the best light because they're for entertainment purposes and they're meant to be dramatized. But I personally do have a problem with the fact that these people on these shows exist because it shows multiple failings, personally and societally. For someone to get to that size, there has to be easy access to highly palatable and addictive foods, a general lack of acknowledgement of conditions like food addiction, and a lack of mental health care available for someone to be able to get to 600 pounds. So yes, I do have a problem with the fact that these people exist on these shows. And while I don't think they deserve to be shamed, someone might be delusional if they think that society believes being 600 pounds is bad solely because of a hatred of fat people.
Hi, welcome to Fatphobia Lessons 101. Let's talk about the word overweight. A lot of people use overweight as a synonym to fat, and they also use the word obese as a synonym to fat. These things are not synonyms, just as fat and beautiful are not mutually exclusive words. Shocking. When you use the term overweight, it implies that a fat person is over their natural set body weight. Your natural body weight is where your body is at its happiest, healthiest, and most likely where it's going to stay. So if you gain weight or lose weight, it's naturally going to come back to this natural set body weight because this is where your body's the most comfortable. So when I try to lose weight, I always come back to this body, a fat body. So when you tell me I'm overweight, you're wrong. This is my natural body weight. It doesn't matter how healthy or unhealthy I eat, my body's coming back to this body. So when you say overweight, it implies that I'm unhealthy, and again goes with the stigma that fat people are only unhealthy. Don't get me started on the word obese. That is a terrible word, and we should not be using it, period.
How are you going to start a video saying you're going to explain the difference between fat, overweight, and obese, and then not do it? I was excited. And what this woman is talking about is set point theory, that all humans have a weight that they are healthiest at, and that weight can also be overweight or obese. This is just wrong. The reason people get away with saying this is because even when someone attempts to lose weight, they tend to get back to their original weight after a period of time. But that's not because their body is healthiest at that size. It's because humans are creatures of habit. So most people revert back to their old eating habits after a set period of time. The same habits that got them fat in the first place. It's not because their bodies are happier at that size. It's because humans are bad with long-term change. If you don't want to talk about dieting and weight loss and whatever, then just ignore these people. I do think that some people can be overly enthusiastic about sharing about their diets and workouts and stuff like that. But if a group of colleagues are discussing their own personal health journeys and they're not involving you, then leave them be. Your triggers are your own to deal with.